right, it is episode 15 of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Jonathon, how Travis Cunningham. Travis, who is the first 15 you think of?
Actively, Adam Leslie, and then unactive, but currently has been active quite recently, is Tim Jones, 15J.
Mm-hmm. Good picks. I would have gone Leslie as well myself. I feel like 15, we can also go Tim Anderson in the mod light.
Yep, another one I was thinking about, Dan Anacoke.
Yep. Yeah. All
Jeremy
right.
Johnson.
We have, yeah, I'm sure. That's the thing, right? As soon as you say it, I feel like we're going to start getting messages like, hey, why didn't you shout me out when you got to my number? Because there's 17,000 different classes and series across Northeast and Southern Ontario, and it's hard to keep track of all sometimes. Okay. All right. Speaking of keeping track of things, we have a lot of racing to get into. Long weekend provided multiple nights. I wanted to say 4 nights, but we had two different tracks on the same night, so it's like almost like 5 nights of racing to get into and cover here. So let's start with Ohsweken. It was a Good Friday night, and I think I think this one's on GeForce, right? I haven't been. There was ones that were a couple falling behind from each track, but I'm pretty sure GeForce is on it. So if you guys wanted to go back and watch it, definitely head over to GeForce. So Liam Martin wins the 360 race at Ohsweken on Friday night. Wins over Mitch Brown, Mikey Krutchka, Corey Turner, and Nick Sheridan. Some usual suspects, I would say, in the A main, and good run as well. I think for Liam to win it from the pole. That's his second win of the year, I believe, in a 360.
Yep. Yeah, it was tough sled, 20 laps, green to checkers. So there wasn't that all much moving in the track. I went whatever it was, 15 to 11th, and I was like the second hard charger. It was only +4, so
I was gonna say you're only one position off of
yeah.
being the hard charger, which went to DJ Christie, who was +5 on the night.
But yeah, Liam Martin,
Started 19th, brought home 14th, so shout out to
he
him.
was fast from hot laps all the way through, and then he drew the pole, so I pretty much knew it was going to be hard to beat him right there. But yeah, Mitch Brown, Mikey gave him a good. Mikey was +3, so he was another one that went forward a bit. So yeah, it's just a tough sled and when 20 laps go so quick if it's green to checkers.
Yep. Middleport Mechanical Thunderstocks. Lots of drivers picking up lots of spots, like right off the hop. Ryan Beagle is your winner. Started 18th. Dave Bailey finished second, started 19th. Christopher Hale was the hard charger who gained 21 spots in this one. Started 26th, finished 5th. Mark Fawcett and Robert Hoskins also in the top 5 there. Good win for Beagle. And funny, I feel like I don't want to say it's weird to see because he's been still running inside the top 5, but it's like I feel like we haven't talked about a Dave Bailey win in a little while.
No, I'm pretty sure he got skunked on the weekend, and he had the win the week before over Beagle, passed him late, I think. And then Beagle said in victory lane, hopefully I can do one spot better the next week. And he did by a fender, held a race. That's super slick conditions that they have. Definitely benefits the street stocks the most, in my opinion, because those guys can use every single lane, and that place is like 8 lanes wide. So the street stock race there is definitely always intense. And yeah, it was a fender for Beagle over the man Bailey, and but also not a shocker to see Beagle in victory lane either, because he's usually second when old Davey gets her done.
Right? Yeah, he's
Yeah.
easily one of the most consistent drivers in Thunderstock. So, Northeast Late Model Alliance Tour. We're also at Ohsweken on Friday night. Charlie Sandercock, Andrew Hennessy, Austin King, Brandon Mowat, and Kyle Sopez. That is your top 5 there. What did you think of the late models? You got a chance to call them the next night, correct? At Humberstone?
Yeah. Good racing. I watched a little bit of the feature Friday because they were just ahead of me, but then I had to run back. And yeah, Charlie Sandercock, he's one of the best drivers they got, and him and Andrew Hennessy swept the weekend. They're teammates, and I was parked next to Robbie Lettingham, and I had lots of fun chatting with him. We got to have him on the podcast soon too, because he's got lots of back in the day stories as well, and he's been just around for so long, a local legend. I literally bowed down, was like, I'm not worthy when I got there, but yeah, I think he ended at 6th or something after having to go to the back, but yeah, and then like basically everybody you said in the top five there, I know Brandon Mowat, Kyle Sopaz, they're all good guys and all from Brighton, and yeah, I love all those guys, so I could see them all have good runs.
Yeah, and the modified Nostalgia Tour, won by Flash Gordon. Doug Gordon wins it,
Yeah,
and over Mark Shadwell, Andy Imbo, Brandon Gregory, and Bill Montreux.
yeah. Dougie Flash Gordon works at BRP, drives the truck over to the U.S. store, and see him and talk the BS with racing with him lots of times, and I haven't seen him yet to talk about his win, but yeah, completely awesome to see him pick up a win again, and couldn't do quite as good as Humberstone the next night, but see Dougie pick up the win Friday. I didn't quite get to see it. Now I'm pretty mad at myself for not seeing that, but I did watch it on the replay, and he did a great job. And that car's owned by a local team as well, the Kendricks, with lots of modified ties. Lots of guys will remember them. Had so many different drivers back in the day. Even Todd Kendrick drove himself. So yeah, congrats to Dougie.
For sure. Yeah, it was a good night of racing for you guys. And then you were back on the mic Saturday night at a Humberstone. So talk to us about what you saw and what you took in on Saturday night.
Saturday was a decent night. Knew it was going to be a little bit of a lower night running against Merrittville, but the late models was definitely the best race that night. There was 22 cars. I was a little disappointed in the crate sprint. Car count, only 9 cars going for 2 Gs. Uh, me and Terry were talking like those guys, because it wasn't an action sprint tour race. That's probably the main problem. So yeah, I just don't think those guys, but they're just a lot of them are just hobbyists and they like the week off, and lots of people are like that. So it just didn't work out. But I feel like if we ran 360s, there would have been a few more. But the late model race was awesome. There was one big jingle and a little bit of kerfuffle in the infield, but other than that, pretty good night. A little bit. Oh yeah, we watered the track a little too much. That was the main problem too.
Yeah,
But had its lumps, but we made up for it the next night.
it happens. It's hard too when you're not racing every single week. That track prep, right? And I think it makes a difference, right? It when you're trying to prep a track for the first time in a couple weeks or whatever versus
Mm-hmm.
every Saturday we're doing it or every Friday you're doing it at Ohsweken, right? So over on my side on at Merrittville on the Saturday night was a pretty good night of racing. Ryan Susie took home the Core Pack Merchandising 358 modified win. Started seventh, went up to first. Uh, thought I thought Freddie Carlton was going to be. I thought this was going to be his night to break through. He ended up second, led a whole bunch of that one, and then Susie just got him there at the end. Uh, Big run to the front. This is probably the quietest and sneakiest 14 position gain I have ever seen on a dirt track. But Pete Bicknell started 17th, ended up third. Um, and I didn't even notice him until he was inside the top five. I think it was pretty wild. Scott Wood fourth and Eric Rudolph fifth, who gained 6 spots, started 11th. But it was funny. I didn't. Eric Rudolph again didn't. I didn't think he quite had enough of what he wanted, but that would quickly change over the course of the weekend. But didn't quite have it on Saturday night at Merrittville to get up there and be a factor. But Ryan Susie, the big win.
Yep. Susie finally gets another one. Been fast all year. Got one earlier in the year, and just a matter of time before he got win number two, and he finally did it. So congrats to Ryan. And yeah, Pete went 17 to third, so that means he must have missed the handicapping. Had a tough heat. So
Yeah,
although you said that was the sneakiest drive, I've seen lots of sneaky Pete drives. He's called Sneaky Pete for a reason. And yeah,
yeah.
I've seen lots of times where he's just sixth or so on lap 20, and then lap 35 he's holding the checker flag in victory lane. So nothing new there.
It was so methodical. It was just so impressive to watch because like at one point I didn't think he had anything. Like he just was kind of mired back in traffic, but in the last like 10 laps in particular, the last 15 laps of that feature, he really put the work in and made his way up through the field. Someone who grabbed their first win, Curtis Friesen, which I think has to be the ultimate redemption story. We're going to catch up with Curtis a little later in the show, but he wins the Right Choice Auto and Leisure Sportsman feature on Saturday night over Terry Smith, Justin Sharp, Cody McPherson, and Rob Knapp. Yeah, it was after just junking the car the week before. It was so great to see Curtis grab the win.
Yeah, we interviewed Curtis before we did our local part here, so I don't want to ruin anything for everything because he did give such a awesome explanation of it. But I was super pumped to see Terry Smith finish second. Great run for him. And Curtis says in his interview, even though I said I didn't want to rack it, that he was on him the whole time. So definitely kept Curtis on his heels. And then the other guy I want to mention, Rob Knapp. We haven't talked about him a lot, but he's gotten lots of top fives this year. And cool to see him grab another one. So definitely a victory coming for the 2K as well. Always usually gets one or two a year. So wouldn't be shocked to see Robbie Knapp pick one up pretty soon.
So consistent. So
Yeah.
consistent and so much speed out of that nap car. Like I know you know it's coming. It's right around the corner for him. He just gotta. I don't even know what to say about it. It's just like every time he's good, there's just one or two cars that are just a little bit better. And but Nap, yeah, I think we're gonna see a breakthrough from that 2K real soon. Also on the night, we saw the Hoosier Sox. Kyle Pellrine got the win there, which was really good to see. I know I kind of joked with him in Victory Lane. He was 1 week late after his father-in-law Brian Hallowell went up on the Wall of Fame the week before. But yeah, you know what? He still got the win. Got to pay tribute to him in Victory Lane, and it was good to see Kyle break through because we were also teasing him in Victory Lane. Travis, I don't know if you remember this story, but Kyle Pellrine actually, I think he like tore his ACL or he had a pretty bad injury. The last time he won, he jumped out of the car in Victory Lane and he fell on his way down and he like mangled his leg and he still did the interview but because he was riding on the adrenaline, but as soon as he tried to get back in the car he knew he was like real injured.
No, I did not know that. And yeah, that's pretty insane. So definitely glad he got another one to redeem himself for this Victory Lane celebration. And we definitely got to have him on the
Yeah,
podcast soon because,
and
yeah, we love having first time winners. But so definitely got to have Kyle on soon. And yeah, it was awesome to see him pick up
yeah,
his
grabbed his
first win.
first win and
That car's so pretty. That car
yeah,
is
first win since 2019.
yeah. And like I say, the prettiness of that car deserves to win every week. So definitely best pairing in my book
Oh,
of
it
the old
is
street stocks.
absolutely. Like
Yeah.
there's some great looking cars. Like obviously
Yeah, they all look great, but
everybody
that one's
associates
my fave.
Dave Bailey, but right, it just is so sharp, so well done. Mark Fawcett finished second. Rob Murray, Jim Lampman, Dave Bailey round out your top five in the Hoosier stocks. Turning attention to the mod lights, we got a nice little duel between Brent Bigelow and Josh Slider, with Brent really having to work at the end to hold off Josh. We had Josh on a couple of weeks ago. He feels like he's really figured out that chassis, especially at Merrittville now. And I'm telling you, the field might be in trouble if Slider is peaking now. This could get interesting. But Brent was able to hold him off on Saturday, grab that win. Slider, Iftati, Meisner, and Dylan Slater rounded out the top five there.
Yep, usual suspects at the front. Old Brent and Josh. Brent got him this time. Josh is definitely getting quicker, like you said. But yeah, Dylan Slater's got a new car. I'm not sure if that's a Savage car or not. Kind of looks like one. Didn't have a chance to ask him, but to put her in the top five, pretty cool for Dylan. And yeah, that's all I got there. That's right.
Yeah, Dylan's been running pretty well, and I think that is a Savage car, if I remember correctly, because he sold his previous car. I believe Greg Zach is piloting the
Yeah.
old, uh, the old Dylan Slater vehicle now. Van Sickle Pet Value PV on the lane. Ken Hare. Ken Hare was not afraid to trade some paint to make sure that he sealed the deal against Tyler LaFontaine. Um, kind of got under him at one point. I think it was like 2 laps to go. Lost it a little bit, drove up the racetrack. They slammed doors. Tyler LaFontaine leaned on him down the backstretch, but in the end, it was still Kenny Hare able to hold off the field and grab. I think that was win number 2 on the year for Kenny Hare as well. So
Yeah. I saw the Fantasy post on Facebook the next day that he wasn't all that happy with it, but then they ended up starting next to each other all night at Humberstone, and nothing
yep,
escalated. So just typical mini stock racing, if you ask me. And yeah, Kenny Hare picked up the win. Honda had to settle for second this time.
Yep, Clinton Barrick, the other TMR car, ended up third. Trevor DeBoer fourth, and Vincent Pagnotta fifth there. And we also had the V6s in action, which no surprise there. Dustin Duga wins another one. Guy is just that V6 program that they had was so dominant last year that has not missed a beat even with all the weeks off and the intermittent schedule this year. Um, I'm just can't wait to see Dustin, who we obviously know can drive. Can't wait to see his four-cylinder program start to really get competitive and get to the front of the field because I know Dustin can get it done.
Yeah, you said the exact same thing I was going to say about the four-cylinder program. Love seeing him at Humberstone Sunday in it. And yeah, pumped to see what he can do in that.
And speaking of Sunday at Humberstone, we had racing that we got to cover together. Got to be on the call, which is always nice. First time in a couple of weeks, couple
About
months
a
maybe
month.
even because
That's
I
about a
missed
month.
all that Canada Day celebration. Yeah,
Yeah.
so uh, it was nice. It was good to be back at Humberstone and good to watch. Well, good to watch, but not not good to watch. Eric Rudolph. I. It's not that I have anything against our American invaders, but every once in a while, I'm cheering for a good hometown story. But Eric Rudolph put on a whooping on Sunday night. That was super impressive. That is the stuff that um, I always heard about Eric. You know, seeing him more often on the other side of the ditch as opposed to coming out to our side over here on Saturday nights or anything like that. But I always had friends who said, I talk to friends who went over to Ransomville all the time, and they're like, you got to watch Eric drive. You got to watch Rudolph. He is so good, so dominant, and now I see why. I mean, that was a clinic from about like lap 10 to lap 20 on. He was the fastest car in the field and just drove away with it.
Yeah, that's definitely one of Eric's favorite tracks. He's even said so in Victory Lane, one of his best tracks. Has tons of big wins there. Won a tour race there in the 358s for sure. And yeah, I'm the opposite. I've seen Eric from his whole career. I can remember when he was like a 5-year-old beating up on 10-year-olds, and then he was a 10-year-old beating up on adults in the go karts. They don't even let kids do that anymore. He used to like run a few classes up, and then he started out in the pavement world in like a Sportsman modified on pavement. First the TQ, and I swear that kid was 15 for like 5 years. He was always 15 years old, but I know he started way earlier than that. But yeah, then he won Super Dirt Week in the Sportsman. So many Super Dirt Car Series wins. His dad's famous, and definitely a wheelman and a half. First time he was able to come over here in a while, and didn't forget how to get around Humberstone. That's for sure. Spanked him.
That
Didn't
is
really
for
spank him,
sure.
but
Yeah, I think what ended up happening was Matt Williamson really closed on him at the end. Like Matt actually closed on him in that last 10 laps, and it got interesting. But I thought Eric was so fast for most of that race. I was like Gary Lindbergh, I think was on pole to start that one. Gary ended up third, and he led the first 10, 15 laps, maybe of the 50 laps that they ran at Humberstone on Sunday night. But like once Eric was able to get by him, I think the most impressive thing for me was his aggression in terms of how he was able to pass. It was like it wasn't aggressive in the sense of like, oh, I'm gonna move you or I'm gonna make contact. It was never dirty. It was just the fact that he was so calculated that like I'm going for this exact spot. I'm sliding in there in the matter of inches away from making contact with you he just the way he was able to chop down underneath guys, chop down in front of guys to hold them off, especially because I thought Humberstone was pretty much a one lane racetrack for most of the night.
yeah, the outside was working in 3 and 4. 1 and 2 is definitely a little bit more bottom once the night went on a little bit. But that's where Eric made his move. He threw it in super hard on the restart and was able to get the car to stick, and that's how he got by. It was roll in the middle in 1 and 2, and then once he got the lead, he was able to drop down and take the little bit of the preferred groove away. And that's even what he said in Victory Lane. Just a super aggressive restart, car stuck, and if it wasn't for that, he might not have won.
Yeah, it was impressive. I was really impressed with what we saw at Erica, not just on Sunday, also on Monday as well. Um, but yeah, Chad Chevalier and Mike Bowman round out the top five in the mods. The Sportsman, Cody McPherson wins it, pretty dominating fashion over James Friesen, Greg Penante, Billy Bleach Jr., and Brad Rouse.
Yeah. Uh, awesome Victory Lane with Cody. Had a bunch of his family there. They're all screaming crazy. I wish that's the Victory Lane video that went viral from Humberstone instead of the other one, because that's the one that deserves to go viral. And then his Aunt Tammy also put up a whole bunch of money and her business, Willard Concrete Trucking and all that, and so he got to take home the extra money, which was 750 for the win. So that's almost a full feature win extra. That is a full feature win extra usually. So awesome to see that. Awesome to see the victory lane. That's the one that should go viral. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Masterful drive. He started second. As soon as I saw that, I figured he'd probably get her done.
Yeah, yeah. Once you put him up front in a race, you know he's going to have a good shot to close it out. Street Stocks, 25 laps. Pete Reed, the crazy alien, grabs the win over Jason Fontaine, Craig Handley, Ron Logie, and Brock Gregory.
Yeah. So that was an awesome race as well. And good to
that was kind of the one race that got away from us a little bit just because that one caution where I think it was Zach Leach and Donnie Lamb got hooked together, and
yeah,
took a while to like get
unhook
them
them.
unhooked, unfortunately, and then yeah, but give credit to Donnie. Donnie ended up driving back to ninth, so
Yep.
That was good to see for a past guest of ours.
Yeah, not my awesome for Donnie to drive back, but yeah, I was gonna say like not my first time interviewing Pete Reed, but first time interviewing him for the win at the All Canadian, and he was super pumped about that in victory lane,
Mm-hmm.
and so cool to see Pete pick up his first All Canadian win, and that race has been going on since 1958 in the Niagara area, so definitely one of the crown jewels, and he was pumped about it.
Absolutely. On the Mod Light side, Josh Slider grabbed the win over Tyler Winger, Rob Meisner, RJ Pitts, Dylan Slider. That's what I'm saying. Josh was peaking at the right time here. He's really found his groove in that 17.
Yep, the Josh and Brent show continues to Saturday, and I think they finished the other way, right? Josh over Brent.
Yeah, because Brent ended up not that. I think that was no, that was the Monday night. There was one night where Brent didn't finish. Or maybe it was both
Mm.
because I see Brent scored 14th. So I'm trying to remember what happened on Sunday. But Brent was leading. I think it must have been Monday night where at Merrittville where he had the win pretty much sealed in the bank, and then Josh was closing on him, and then all of a sudden the car died on him. I think that was at Merrittville. So I'll save that story for
Mm.
a couple minutes later. Got to get to the mini stocks here. The Bosch mini stocks opened the night at Humberstone. Tyler Afonso, Clinton Barrick, another 1-2 for the TMR gang. John Lubeck third, Jeremy May fourth, and Cole Hardy. It's really good to see Cole up inside the top five. I know he had some health problems, kept him out of the race car during the pandemic, and he's I think he's gonna be threatening for wins, but when it's all said and done for Cole.
Yeah, he's super fast. Won before. Wouldn't be wouldn't be the first time to see Cole in victory lane, and super cool to see him super fast on Sunday. And another guy, my old buddy Jeremy May in the 10X. Good to see him get a good run. He's just got a little bit of a limited schedule going, driving for Jeremy Hughes in that 10X. And yeah, front Tyler Lafontaine picks up the money on Sunday. Yeah,
And he also picked up the money on Monday as well.
no, that was Rothwell.
In or sorry, yeah, that was Rothwell. But I was gonna say he
Yeah,
almost had it, and then Rothwell
yeah,
pretty much dominated that race. Um, but the driver that I thought was gonna beat the most was Clinton Barrick because I talked to Lafontaine as he was picking up the money on Sunday. That's what I meant to say was that on Sunday I was talking to him with the check, and he said that Barrick had the twin car. So this whole season, that 09 has basically been the twin car to the 96 that's been beating everybody, which explains why Clinton's been so close so many times. And he does have a couple wins this year, I think, I think he grabbed one at Ohsweken. I can't remember. I know he's won one at Merrittville. But the heartbreak of the Monday night show was Clinton Barrick. It was a 3-car TMR dominated show with Rothwell out front, Tyler Lafontaine, and Clinton Barrick. And Barrick lost a wheel with like 2 or 3 laps to go. Can you imagine if those
leading.
guys had swept the podium? He was running
Yeah.
third. He was battling for second with
Oh,
Lafontaine. He was
okay. Yeah.
underneath him, and then they went into 3 and 4, and then all of a sudden the wheel just popped right off and went for a ride, and so did Clinton. But that was so heartbreaking for them. But I'm sure Rothwell and Lafontaine were still pretty happy to bring it home 1-2 for that team. Collect the big winnings there. Trevor DeWar third, John Lubeck fourth, and Jeremy May fifth.
Yep. So congrats to Kyle. The won a couple in the 96 a couple weeks ago. Good to see him pick one up in the 114, his own car, and it was for big money,
Yep,
$1,300 I think he took home total. So yeah, him and Tyler partied in
absolutely.
the rain after because they didn't get an actual victory lane because they were
Yeah,
chasing
I
rain.
saw that. Yeah, we were trying to get away
Yeah,
from that, so we saved most of the victory lanes except for the modifieds till the end. Josh later ended up taking home the Rona Deutsch Mod Lights. That was the race where Brent Beckwell, yeah, scored 18th at the end. Brent had the lead for most of that one, started fifth, so he quickly got to the front. Josh started 12th, so he had to come from the back a bit longer. And right as Josh was pretty much there, like I think Brent would have been able to hold him off, maybe, so hard to say, but like Brent just pulled off down the front stretch with like 2 laps to go or 4 laps to go or something like that, and that just cost that just pretty much handed things to Josh Slater. You give Josh Slater a single file restart with under 5 laps to go, it's gonna be pretty tough to beat him. Sean F. Toddy ended up second, Rob Meisner third, Tyler Winger fourth, and then Leroy Buscombe fifth.
yeah. Toddy and Buscom, good runs for them to be in the top five. Cheeseburger, especially for running second. So cool to see
Mm-hmm.
some different names up there.
He's fast. I think if Toddy's another one where um, it's so hard with Brent and Josh being so good, but I could see if Toddy really breaking through for a win here pretty soon. He's another one that I've got an eye on for sure. Um, Dave Bailey was the winner of the Hoosier Stock event, which ended up being rain shortened. I think we got 14 laps in or 16 laps in, so it wasn't over, but it was pretty close to being over. Obviously, over halfway when the rains, the sky really just opened up. Another incident. I'm pretty sure it was. I believe it was. I'm trying to find it by based on the results. I thought it was Shaw and Zach Bleach again that got tangled up, but maybe it was somebody else. But 2 cars got hooked together under the caution. As soon as we basically freed the cars, it became a rain out. So that was a tough break in the Hoosier stocks to not get the full race in, but it was enough to hand Bailey the win and the checkers. And the only other race that we got in that night was the 71 lap modified event, which we put right in the middle. So we made sure that they would at least beat the rain or what we thought was going to beat the rain. And this was a fantastic, like all time modified race for sure. With the way that Matt Williamson rallied late, like not like that race was 50 laps. Matt doesn't win. He said as much in victory lane. That race was 60 laps. Matt doesn't win. The fact that it was 71 laps, which I believe Matt was one of the people who wanted that race to be worth so many laps, considering there was 5 grand on the line. Uh, he got his wish, got the long race, and played it perfectly. Was right there at the end, took the lead with I think 6 laps to go from Eric Rudolph, who I thought was gone. I thought it was over, but yeah, Williamson got it done.
Yeah, Rudolph's got just as much experience in long races as old Matty, so it's not like he snookered some local guy that didn't
Mm-hmm.
wasn't used to long races. So most guys, I think a lot of guys probably would have bet to go a little bit longer race for the big money. Modifieds, that's definitely more their thing. A little bit longer races for the bigger money. And I heard I wasn't there because if I would have showed up, they would have rained out before the modified feature. So you're welcome everybody for me staying home. I can guarantee you. But I heard Matt said in his interview that the bottom he like saw there was a little bit of water down there and they were running down there, so he went down there and splashed the water up onto the track a little bit and made the lane a little bit slippery. And he was able to sneak around the outside. So that's like a veteran move, a professional move. I would never think about doing something like that. And yeah, just ruined the guy's line a little bit and worked out for him.
I couldn't believe it. It was so smart. I once he said it, it clued in because for the last couple laps, Rudolph kept slipping off of turn 4. He would get loose on exit, which you don't really see like that often. Like they're definitely come off the corners a little bit sideways, but to be basically pointed down the front stretch and it to be sideways, basically past the guardrail, I'm not used to seeing that. So I was like, why is Rudolph slipping up like that? And then as soon as Matt said that at victory lane, I was like, oh, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
what a brilliant race move, which is something that you could only ever do in the dirt world too, right? It's not like you can do that on asphalt. There's no water sitting on asphalt, so it, it just goes to show that there's some real tactics at play in the dirt world.
Yeah, totally. Even just so much to do. But like in turn four, there's always sometimes can gain a little puddle. There's that little dip in four that you got to be in the good spot, but sometimes there can form just a little bit extra slop down there. And now you decided to spread it
Yeah,
over the line a little bit, and professional move. No other way to say it. I
yeah,
would never think of doing
no,
that.
yeah. He so there was a caution with 8 laps, and that's really what allowed Matty to close the distance. Because I don't even know, even without that caution, if Matt was definitely coming, but I don't know if he was going to be able to get Rudolph without that caution. 8 laps to go, 2 laps later, on the restart, Williamson gets the lead and drives off. Collects the big bucks. That's why they call him Money Matt. He wins it over Eric Rudolph, Gary Lindbergh, Ryan Susi, and Steve Bernier from St. Hyacinthe, Quebec. Hyacinth. It's easy for me to say. Quebec. He grabs the final spot in the top 5. So we had a couple of our invaders inside the top 5 in that one, but Big Money still stays local.
Who was the other one? Rudolph? Yeah, Rudolph's barely an invader.
Yeah,
He
he's
he
like a regular who hasn't had a chance to be here.
yeah, but Bernier he struggled a bit on Sunday. He won last year one of the October shows, but then Sunday he wasn't all that good. I think he started up front a little bit, faded back, so good to see him pick up top 5 on Saturday. He's one of the fastest guys from Quebec, one of BRP's biggest customers, and I think he runs a speed shop out
Mm-hmm.
there as well. So yeah, he came down to try to get the big money, couldn't quite get it, but grabbed the top 5 on Monday.
Yep, exactly. All right. Speaking of big winners, we got to get to our big winner here because we had a great conversation with Curtis Friesen, and we're already looking forward to having him back on the show. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. So let's throw to that and catch up with a winner from Saturday night in the Sportsman, Curtis Friesen.
Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Want to support the Southern Ontario Dirt Show and help us expand our coverage across the province and Western New York? Well, your ad could be playing right here. Got a brand or business that deserves more attention? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com to become a sponsor of the podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
All right, it is the Southern Ontario Dirt Show with Jonathon and Travis Cunningham, and we're joined by Curtis Friesen tonight. Curtis, how is things? How are things going for you?
It's been a great week, to be honest with you. One of those deals, you get your first win and kind of get that monkey off your back, and gives the team a little bit of confidence moving forward. And yeah, it's kind of new territory, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Kurt, definitely the ultimate redemption story. Had a huge wreck at Merrittville the week before, and crazy for you to come back and win. I saw your motor plate getting straightened at BRP. She was definitely bent, but we got her nice and straight for you. But anyway, just talk about the wreck, and like that was the first time I ever seen the guardrail tore out at turn 1 and 2. Just tell us about that.
Yeah, it's funny, like through my racing career, I've had a few good licks, and that one was like it was one of those deals that they always happen really quick, but it kind of surprised me going up and over. But hitting that guardrail was honestly, it's a blessing. Those guardrails, they take all the force, and there was kind of people asked me throughout the week, how'd you feel, this and that, and other than being a little sore, um, I couldn't have been happier with the way it turned out. As far as some of them can have a lot of like abrupt stops, just kills you. It's like you can get a concussion and whatnot from those deals. But um, as far as the wreck happening, I kind of went and talked to the 53 just to kind of see what he was thinking, because I just the start of that race, I started up front, I believe, and was kind of working my way back. Just couldn't get a feel for the car, a little all over the track. I got into him a couple times, in the last 2 laps, but nothing intentional. Just one of those deals. Couldn't keep the car underneath me that night. Things just weren't working out, and I don't know if he got a little fed up or if I came up into him again, but honestly, all the I going down the front straightaway. Next thing you know, I was just turned in the inside guardrail, and then the rest, is kind of history. But yeah, just I chalk it up as a racing deal, like when you race throughout your life and you just kind of expect stuff like that is eventually going to happen, like hopefully, it's never that bad, but stuff happens racing and that's the end of it.
Yeah, for sure. It was funny because I was up in the booth and I was calling things, and we're all just holding your breath, or holding our breath up there, making sure you're okay. And then you get out of the car and you start marching down to where towards fairway. And I think that was the same week or same weekend that we had seen. I think it was C.J. Leary try to pull the drop kick on somebody, and then there was some other incident out of the states, and I was like, is there anybody to talk to Curtis? And then the way you guys handle it, I saw the exchange ended with a fist bump there. So like I was just super impressed with your sportsmanship. And again, I think race and deal is probably the right way to call it. But just talk to us about your emotions when you got down there. Were you ready to throw down, or did you want to immediately just be like, what happened there?
No, I think I'm at the point in my I guess you can call it racing career where you know what more or less you want respect on the track, right? And I'm driving for somebody, so I'm not necessarily footing the bill. So on my end, you want to try to race as clean as you can, so you're not costing the team money and whatnot. So obviously, you just kind of when you go for a wreck like that, the adrenaline's pumping and whatnot. So kind of walking down there, like frustrated with just the way the car was messed up because we're kind of a lower budget team and every dollar counts. But so when I got there, it was just kind of I just wanted to figure out, what did I do? What was his emotion? Did he kind of kind of fed up with anything that I did, just to kind of straighten it out and nip it at the bud, right? We got a race for obviously there's some bigger money shows coming up, and which is huge for a sportsman team to win a couple grand or whatever they are. But yeah, it was just to kind of straighten it out and try to get over it as quick as possible so that we're not out there the next 2 or 3 weeks or and building up animosity or any type of payback situation or whatever it may be. So in my younger days, growing up, you kind of have a little more of a temper and whatnot, and growing up going to Atlantic City all the time, we used to have some some more exciting confrontations. But you know what? Once you get older, and like I said, I'm not footing the bill anymore, and you just kind of want more respect, and you don't want to cost the team money. So yeah, it's just one of them deals, and wanted to see what he said and move on.
Yeah, love your attitude and the way you handled that for sure. But so now enough of the bad. Let's talk about the good. Just talk about your race Saturday and just walk us through the whole thing and then how it felt crossing the checker flag. You've been close all year a bunch of times, and you finally got it done for the ultimate revenge story. So talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was waiting, for the call from you guys, and my dad came out and said the race just came up on G-Force, so I got to watch that really quick before I'm talking to you guys. And it's funny how being in the car is so much different than watching video. Sometimes I can't stand watching myself race, because sometimes you feel way better and then you look at it and you go, "Oh man, I missed turn 3 and 4 half the time." But anyways, looking at it, I didn't realize how, he was kind of I got a little bit of a lead at the start, and then that caution came out and he was right there the whole time, which is I kind of felt like I was in cruise control a little bit. I felt like the car handled really well. At no point was I kind of fighting it. But man, if I made one mistake there, he was right there to capitalize. Even with that lap traffic at the end, seemed to close the gap even more. Because when I took the checkers, I kind of got off the gas, and his car shot right up next to me. I go, "Oh my lord!" Like it's a lot closer than how I felt in the car, which has been kind of how I felt all year. I've had a few instances where I got out in front. The first time I started fifth and kind of had a true almost win when that caution came out on the last lap. That was a heartbreaker. But I think ultimately, when the car drives that well and you can pass some good cars, like you take a lot of the positives from that, even though you might not win the race. You know the car's capable of it if I can string together 25 laps. Because man, like there's some good talent out there. Even listening to the G-Force, your co-announcer there, like all about Cody McPherson, but for obviously the kid wins 3/4 of the season, right? And then the rest is up for divvies. I mean, my brother's finished second. I don't know how many 90% of the races, but usually he's the same deal. So if you start up front and those guys kind of have to drive through their handicap, then you got to make those count. And I'm just, I couldn't be more ecstatic for our team to be able to get in victory lane, get that picture taken, get that kind of monkey off her back, and do it again, and hopefully, so show some people that you don't need to throw tens of $1,000s at a car, and you can kind of pick up a used chassis and just do the basics of what Bicknell presents. They do a fantastic job with a setup book, and they're super customer friendly and giving advice and whatnot. So I'm just happy with where our program's at after this is their second season, and just some weight off the shoulders finally getting that done. I'm not the Friesen that almost can and doesn't. I'm actually I can get her done every once in a while now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I was really impressed with the way you guys were able to hang on to that one. It helps starting up front, but how much confidence do you have going into big money races? Like obviously we were a little rain shortened on Monday for the big show for you guys, but whenever that does get rescheduled, does that win just go right into your back pocket and give you that much more confidence going forward?
Definitely, I feel like I kind of well, you see if I can start up front. I feel like I can hang out. I can with clean track and nobody out. Like I feel like I can put down some decent enough laps where those guys have to be fast and on their game to charge up and pass me. But when, like, for instance, not qualifying last Saturday, now I'm starting row 9 inside, right? So to charge up through there, 25 laps, you start to kind of weigh, like, you got to have a wicked fast race car because that Sportsman division is just so close, right? Like, we're all within a tenth or two. So you kind of, you got to really be on your A game. So as far as to answer your question, do I have the confidence? Absolutely. Like I've had that blind confidence ever since growing up and watching the big boys race at Ransomville, and just dreaming like one day when I get in the car, and then you just kind of have blind. I At least I do, but at the same point, the confidence comes with preparation in the race car. Like um, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't put what I say is the three phases, like you have to have your chassis under you and everything, no binds in the car, and then you have to have your motor program. There's no stumbling or anything like that, and then you have to be able to get the track conditions, and you put all those three together, and if it lines up for you, it does. But and then you got to be able to race it, right? So obviously I have it feels good, yeah, like I can get the job done in certain circumstances, and hopefully with some money coming up I can get a nice little redraw, and I just got to make sure I qualify through the heat, and start farther forward, because as any or we've seen through some of these features, anything can happen. Obviously I put on its lid the other week, so the farther up front the better off. But yeah, I think as far as racing Sportsman in my career, I think confidence at all time high.
Yeah, confidence is worth at least 20 horsepower, probably 25, 30 more likely. But there's so much stuff to ask you, but I'm going to ask you like a question. Growing up at Ransomville and in the Friesen family, and just talk about being in such a big family in racing, even like Grandpa Stan and all that, didn't tell us some of your best stories from Ransomville growing up.
Oh my lord, you know what?
I know
What a
there's so
dream!
many.
Yeah, but what a dream, eh? Like growing up as
Yeah.
young, and just watching my family to see how they kind of ran Ransomville, and it was such a family oriented business that we ran, and it was, we didn't have any of the newest updated machinery by all means, but I feel like Stan, my dad, Jamie, and my uncle Alex, like they were just they had such love for the sport and so good with people, and being a family friendly atmosphere, and just, I mean, backbreaking, elbow grease throughout the week, fixing guardrail and whatnot. Just, it was such a lovely environment to grow up in, and as a little kid, and we would go to Ransomville Friday and then Lancaster always Saturday, which was kind of two opposite ends as far as racing, but always just so exciting. I talked to my friends growing up, that aren't in auto racing, and it's, oh, they just kind of turn left and go in circles. But when you either know somebody racing or you were privileged to grow up watching my family own and operate a speedway, I mean, it was like Disney World. Um, I think as soon as we could touch the pedals, we were driving Packer trucks around and picking up garbage, and then hopefully Uncle Jamie would let us go on to pack the track before the races, um, and just stuff like that. That you just, it's so exciting to be young and involved in a family atmosphere like that. And I mean, as far as stories, like you guys said, I could go on forever, but just watching the quality of racing growing up, Fridays it was always Plazic would come in with the big hauler, and then it would be Pete and the Bicknell crew. They were always on point, and then the doctor would show up after hot laps, right before his heat race, and slip into whatever he was driving usually. And those three would just put on a show. I think Alan drove for Maroney a couple years. Like, the quality of drivers is just, Todd Burley came up. He was a favorite of mine. It's just two lanes racing. It was a dream to watch. And then we got to go to Lancaster Saturday and watch Siege Fidanza battle it out with Billy Putney and Hosfeld in the 22 car, or Rudolph, I think, first was in that. But and then you sit back and you dream, eh? Like, you just sit there, oh, I want to be like Alan. You never think it's going to be possible, because I just assumed I would be a water truck driver and a Packer driver all my life, and run concession food back and forth. And you know what, I was super content with that. I loved being involved in the races. Behind the scenes, it was just a dream come true. When my uncle was really going, he was kind of renting tracks. All down the New York State Thruway, all the way to Williams Grove. Like, I remember walking into Williams Grove when I was a little kid, just kind of like, what, like, there's racetracks out here like this, just. And then Super Dirt Week was always like such a special time of the year. That place is just like a palace, eh? Like, when they get roaring there, like, as a young kid, there's nothing. How don't you get bit by the racing bug when you're like that, right? And just yeah, super grateful to have had that experience. And then like, now racing nowadays, it's just you realize how blessed you are to have had that and experienced that, and just kind of use that as an advantage now racing. Like, as far as track conditions, I feel like I've seen so much. People sometimes get on the track conditions, like, it's dusty or it's dry, but I think 90% of it is, if it's 90 degrees throughout the week with no cloud cover, like, you can barely keep the water in the track, right? Or if, like, I feel like last Thursday or Wednesday, we got tons of rain, so that helps. Like, you're just kind of like a prisoner to the weather sometimes, and that just kind of dictates 90% of track conditions. I mean, you can manipulate it a little bit, but Yeah, sorry, I'm rambling, kind of going all over the place, but yeah, just
Don't say sorry. We're loving it.
yeah, no, it's one of those things. Growing up
Yeah.
at the track, it's just even going every Saturday. I never got to experience my family owning Merrittville, but I guess that's where it all started with Stanley. And to talk about him would just, we could do a whole nother podcast on Stan. Just
We will. Don't worry.
yeah, just amazing growing up. I used to sit in the back of the truck with my dad, Terry Edwards, and Stan, and we go midget racing to Lancaster, or we go to Perry, and those guys would just have story on story on story. Half of them trucking stories, half of them racing stories, and you could piece together just kind of bits and parts of it, because the stuff they saw and did throughout their racing and the people they knew. Like I always remember growing up hearing the name Howie Commander, and you almost think like that's a stage name, and you never know these people, but you just hear it for so long, and then okay, he's the guy. You start to piece them together. You get older, the Lebanon guy, and then um, yeah, just he had so
He's
much
still the
respect.
Lebanon guy.
Pardon me.
He's still the Lebanon guy, Howie
There
Commander.
you go. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just it's amazing. Like he had so much respect anywhere we went. Everybody loved him. Just a great person and a hell of a driver. Apparently, the track champion at Weed Sport, I believe in 70 or 69, or my dad would know. But yeah. And then kind of jumped into Merrittville with both feet, and I think never looked back. But yeah, starting to go down memory lane now. Like I said, I could do a whole nother podcast on them, but some
Oh,
stories
we're gonna have
are.
a whole other Friesen podcast. We should get like you and your
Oh, yeah.
dad. Try to get Stewie and your brother. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, my dad with his childhood growing up, like the stories those guys have, and
Oh,
just
I
the
can imagine.
yeah,
Jesus.
just the way auto
That's
racing
awesome.
was back then. So much,
Yeah.
kind of different, and I feel like those guys could stretch a buck a little bit more and drive down to 5 Mile Point on a Saturday, and you know what I mean. I obviously time coming back for work, but like gas was a little bit cheaper. Everybody kind of built their own stuff on the cars, and just the stories he could tell, I bet, are just insane.
This winter, Friesen podcast coming up.
That's awesome. We're definitely
Yeah.
having. Oh, absolutely. That's one of the famous family podcasts we want to have in the off season that we've already got you circled. But speaking of your brother, I was going to ask if you guys have had a run in or on the racetrack yet between you and James, or just maybe anybody with the last name Friesen at the racetrack that you can remember that was a little bit more memorable or made a family dinner a little bit interesting.
Yeah, you know what? It's I got into him in a heat race 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I started at the front. I went straight to the back, and James passed me. I think he was the last car to pass me, and then I cooked it into three and caught like this mystery bite, like because being on bars sometimes I set it and just kind of just drive it in as deep as I can. Sometimes it carried his. Well, anyways, I caught some bite down the and just drove up into his left rear. It got him loose, and he spent 2 laps weaving down low to see who it was. Well, obviously it was me, so um, I don't think he was too impressed with it, but not too much major damage. But he's such a chill guy. He doesn't let too much stuff bother him anymore. Um, I've seen a bunch of incidences, with him on the track, just even in the last 5 years. So I always love watching him race. He's such a steady, consistent driver, always top three or challenging for wins. But, you see guys come down and talk to him. Oh, sorry, and he just kind of shrugs it off, and he knows that there's no point dwelling in any of that kind of race and stuff. You just got to kind of move forward. But as far as me and him getting into each other, he's always just kind of been a little bit faster than me throughout our career. We've raced a lot of midget races together, and he's just kind of always been either winning or close to it, and I've just kind of grown up behind James and Stewart. Like they've always had about 4 or 5 years of solid racing before I kind of got in, and then Stewart jumped to the Sportsman ranks and kind of left an open seat in midgets, and I jumped into that, and then kind of had to start cutting my teeth in that. But James was already winning U.S. Opens and traveling down to Florida with Pops to race. Like he's got so much seat time and such different aspects of racing. I mean, he drove big blocks for a season or for a time down in Volusia, won a Volusia heat. He's won a couple modified features at Humberstone and whatnot. Like he's a bona fide modified driver and racing and Sportsman. So if I get close to him and run into him, it's I'm just happy to be that
That's
close
amazing.
type of deal.
Oh man, yeah. There's so much to ask this guy. We're almost
That's
at
awesome.
a half an hour already. Yeah.
I know. We literally could do like hours on hours.
I'll throw it.
Alright,
Throw it back. Can I throw it back at you guys a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I was just talking to my dad. I'll start with you, Travis. Kind of. He's talking. You were racing there for a while, and he said did you get a modified win?
No, bunch of seconds and thirds and everything but a win. But yeah, I've got 3 sprint car wins. But yeah, I never did get the modified win. I came real close one time and gave it away with 2 to go.
But you got to run bridesmaid a few times just to like. It's a numbers game half the time, eh? Like eventually your luck's gonna turn and you're gonna snag one. But yeah, me and my dad were talking, and I knew the name Travis Cunningham, but I didn't really piece it together. And my dad was saying I'm pretty sure he won a modified, but just to even run second or runner up in the modified division around here, that's something to hang your hat on for sure. Such a competitive class.
I'll tell you the number one thing I remember about your dad the most when you guys owned Ransomville is, like I was telling Johnny right before, is how he would always say thanks for coming to everybody that came there. And like you said, it was family atmosphere, but like thanks for coming. A lot of tracks don't do that. It is the simplest thing to do in the world. It makes everybody that walks through the gate feel like $1 million, and he did it every time. Good old Joel Friesen, and I love him for it. Jamie did it too. Everybody, all of you.
Yeah, I think it was 96, 97, maybe 98. After my uncle passed, they got off the dirt sanction and did this Project X deal. And I think we were down some nights, maybe 15, 14, 15, 16 modified. So, ultimately when you have a racetrack, you want a full modified field. Like that's your A class. So my point being is like when you kind of get down to 14 and 15 modifieds, you're trying to put on a show for people to pay. Like you're just grateful for people showing up, and you're trying so hard. You're putting so much effort. That's why when you see kind of Don and the guys up at Humberstone, you feel for them some nights when they don't get the crowd, because you just know how much it goes into it. So when you say you saw my dad thanking everybody, because it's the times that the grandstands aren't full or the rough time. So when things are going good or things are going bad, you're just happy people are coming around and enjoying what product you're putting forward. And yeah, he's always been like that. I think after 50 years of being in the business, sometimes you see a street stock guy or whatnot come up to the board, and dad might get like, never say anything negative or ignorant or anything like that, but maybe he just doesn't take the time and with a guy here and there. But it's such a hard sport sometimes, like that's why you don't see the track owners too much over in the pit side, because emotions run high, right? And with the racing deal, and everybody wants somebody to kind of yell at, and usually it's the pit board guy that takes most of the the crap. But but I agree with you. Throughout my life, I've he's always been pretty a grateful person to be around, and I think that's what made us successful for so many years. Is really loving what we did and putting pride into it, and making sure our product was always up to snuff. And you definitely should get him on here for an hour, because he's got such a wealth of knowledge in the sport. And he comes up to Merrittville with me now, but having Ransomville kind of in the rearview mirror, it's good for him to talk about all this stuff again. And it's either a podcast, or maybe he's got to write down a memoir or something.
No doubt. We'll have him on for sure. I guarantee you. Hit him with the question, Johnny.
All right, so this is our go-to question. This is the go-to question we ask everybody on the podcast, Curtis. And I feel like you've got enough experience that you're gonna have a good answer for us. So I'm gonna give you one car that you can race for the rest of your life on one racetrack, only one. What's the combination you go for?
So I can pick a race, and then I can pick the drive I get.
Yeah,
exactly. Car and a track combo that you're just dying to drive.
Yeah. I love my Super Dirt Week. I love looking at like Monaco and F1. I love a lot of the USAC stuff, but I think hands down what looks the most insane is the Indianapolis 500. You give me an Indianapolis 500 all day long. Give me a Chip Ganassi car, or a Penske car. No, Penske for sure. Give me a Helio car. And let's see if I can actually have the the balls to get through turns 1 and 2. Like, that just seems like an insane atmosphere. Even putting it on, me and my dad put it on the radio every year. Don't even watch it, just listen to it, because it's so much more exciting on the radio. But I think that's got to be it's the biggest race in the world, right? As far as motorsports, I would think.
Yep. I totally agree. Like that would be up there in my
or something like that.
In my list as well.
There's a few. What book was I reading last? I read the Jack Hewitt book, and he talked a little bit about Indy. And who else did I read? Doesn't matter. But yeah, I've read a few deals where people talk about Indy and just kind of like the intensity of it, and if your car's not up to snuff, like kind of how you have to just to get into the race can be insane. And yeah, I think that would be my go-to for sure. Like, honestly, my dad always said all our life that he thought Stewart would be an insane IndyCar driver, because we watched him kind of growing up in the TQ stuff, and he always on the asphalt would have that kind of loose car control. And I think if you ever put him in one of those things, he'd be a rocket ship.
Maybe one day. I would like to see that one day.
Yeah, get Stewie on here.
Yeah,
too.
For sure.
I mean, I don't know how big Hallmar is or what the deal is, but he's got to at least get one shot.
I agree.
You never know what could come down the pipeline, right? Awesome, Curtis. Well, congratulations again on the win. Thanks for taking the time tonight. Awesome interview. We really appreciate it, and we're definitely going to have you back with some famous family members as well, I'm sure, in the off season. Good luck the rest of the way. Good luck catching up for the going for the big money whenever Merrittville reschedules that race, and have a great rest of the season and a great night.
Yeah, thank you guys very much, and make sure to come over and say hi in the pit side, and we'll catch up and whatnot. But I appreciate it, and hopefully the success continues, and we just gonna keep enjoying ourselves every Saturday night and go from there. But yeah, you guys have a good night too.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Travis.
Thanks, Kurt. Definitely taking you up. Have a couple beers.
Great job, guys.
Later, bro.
Later.
See you guys.
Later.
And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for future episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.